What's going on, YouTube? It is your boy here, Manny. Once again, welcome back to another episode of DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NFL, NBA, WNBA, and MLB. And before I continue, like always, guys, I appreciate you drop a like on the video. And if you're looking for every possible information you can get to help you make better lineup decisions, subscribe down below if you haven't done so already. And make sure you turn on your notifications. This way you do not miss any of my new uploads. With that being said, today is Friday the 13th, actually. Friday, July 13th, 2018. Got a 4-game slate for you guys today on FanDuel for the WNBA. We have Chicago visiting Washington, Indiana going over to visit Atlanta, Phoenix at Connecticut, and Las Vegas at Minnesota. We start with the first game of the day. We got Chicago at Washington. We have implied totals here of 173. It is the highest scoring game on the slate for today, at least projected. We have Washington at home favored by 9. Washington at the moment is 4th in the league in scoring at 84.7 points per game. They're 7th in pace at 79.7 points per game. Field goal percentage, 7th in the league at 44.6%. They're 3rd in three-point percentage at 35.8%, pretty much 36%. 10th in rebounding, 11th in assists with 16.6 a game. 4th in steals, something to note there, 7.4 steals per game. They're 7th in blocks at 3.6. They are 11th in percentage points from 2 at 51.7%. They are 5th in points per game given up to guards, defending 32.3 points per game, and points per game given up to forwards and centers. They are 8th in the league at 48.8. On the other hand, here Chicago, they are 7th in points. That's 80.9 points per game. Pretty much you round that off to 81 points a game. They're 5th in pace at 80.7. They are 9th in field goal percentage at 43.2%. They are 1st in three-point shooting at 36.9, pretty much 37%. They are 7th in rebounding at 33.7. They are 4th in assists with 20 assists a game, something very important to realize there as well. See, they are 7th in steals at 6.8 steals per game. They are 6th in blocks with 4 a game, pretty much even between the steals and blocks between the two teams. Percentage points from 2, 8th in the league at 54.9%, pretty much round that off to 55%. Points per game given up to guards, they're 10th at 33.8 points per game. And at points per game given up to forwards and centers, I have them 11th on my list with 52.4 points per game. All right, we're going to go over to the matchup of the games, man. I mean, this is an interesting game. Chicago and Washington have played each other already twice this year, and Washington won both games. First game 88-60, second game 93-77. Something to point out here as well, Washington is 3-2 over the course of their last 5 games at home, averaging 84.2 points per game and offering up 82.8 points per game to the opponents. That's only a positive 2 there. Chicago, on the other hand, is 1-4 on the road in their last 5 games. They have scored at a clip of 82.6 points per game, but have given up a whopping 95 points per game in those losses, in those games on the road to the home team. So that's a -3, and so that's really not good looking. It's not looking good at all with those numbers for Chicago today. So we'll see how that pans out. But we have here at the top at guard, we have Cortney Van Der Sloot. I do have her as someone you can definitely consider today. 7,700. You need about 37. She's averaging 28.5, pretty much 29 points a game. At the moment, she has had 3. What we have here? We have 7 out of her last 8 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of her last 8 games, 32 plus. So not too bad. She's above her fantasy points per game average at the same time, even though that's not quite what we need to get out of her for 5x, but she is close to it, and I think she's going to be in a good spot here today to get it done as well. So Cortney Van Der Sloot is someone you can definitely consider here against Washington. The first time around against Washington, she put up a 16 spot, and then the game before, first time around was a 17 spot. Second time around, she put up 16.7. She hasn't had good outings, but she has had 6, 7 out of her last 8 games where she's looked very, very well. So she has a shot here. A little pricey, 7,700, but out of this game here, she will probably be the only one of Chicago other than Diamond Deshields. Now remember, Diamond Deshields, I've said this before in previous videos if you haven't been here before, Diamond Deshields plays forward for this team. They have her on FanDuel as a guard as well as Gabby Williams, and both of them play and start for Chicago up front. Okay, and that's what makes this matchup a little bit interesting, is that Diamond Deshields could possibly have a pretty good game here. 6,300. You need about 20, you need about 31, 32 from her. She got a 29 spot in her last game, and then the last games against Washington, she put a 11 spot here, and in 13 minutes here, she put only a 3.7. Again, those were 2 games that they both lost, and both games were kind of like blowouts. So that's one of the reasons why she didn't get as minimal minutes here as well. She didn't get as much minutes here in game 1 as well as she did here. In game 2, she only got 21. So when the games are that bad, that's what can happen, you know. One thing to remember also in that game is that these the forward position, Miss Dawson, I don't think played in 1 or 2 of those games. We're going to take a look at it now. We go down. So Diamond Deshields is definitely someone you can consider. I have her here as one that you could definitely play. Christy Tolliver will probably be a better play. She is $600 cheaper. Christy Tolliver has 40-point upside. She hasn't gotten to 40 in a while, but at 5.7, you need 27. And she's been averaging pretty much 24, so she's really, really close. She's had here the 2 games against Washington, she put up, the 2 games against Chicago, she put up a 17 spot here, and then 27 minutes in that first original blowout, she put up a 36 spot. So that was more than 1 fantasy point per minute, which is definitely a nice game for her. She had a 36 spot here 2 games ago against Seattle, and a 35 spot here against Connecticut. Was considered one of the Seattle and Connecticut both were considered fairly good teams up front defending against guards, and she did very well there. She kind of let me a little down here in the game, the last game. I thought she would definitely have a bigger game. She did not. She only played 26 minutes. Obviously Atlanta was just on fire. Definitely an off night for the Mystics. I expect them to bounce back, and I expect her to have a better game as well. So Christy Tolliver is in play. Ariel Atkins is another one I'm considering. 5,100. You need about 25 from her, and she has hit 23, 27 in 2 out of her last 3 games. She's had a couple 25 and 20 spots, and even a 30 spot before. When she played Chicago the first time around, she put a 20 spot in 18 minutes. That's more than 1 fantasy point per minute. And she did the same the game before that against Chicago. 17 minutes, 7, 1, and 2 with 3 steals. 17.2 fantasy points. That's 1 fantasy point per minute. So she's definitely someone you can definitely consider here. I think she will have a nice game as well. Natasha Cloud will probably be the next person here. The next guard that I would consider. She's been playing fairly well, a little choppy up and down, but she's getting the minutes, and that's what I like. 25, 26, nearly pretty much 1 fantasy point per minute in her last outing against Atlanta. Had almost a 40 spot here against New York. The games against Chicago, 26 spot, pretty nice, almost 1 fantasy point per minute. And in the game before that, 24 minutes, 18.8 fantasy points. So I think she's definitely in play just from what she has already done against this team, and it's no different up front. Other than Courtney, no different up front for Chicago for her to compete against, because it's the same 2 girls in Quigley and Van Der Sloot. We go to the forwards. Elena Delle Donne obviously is one of the best players in the league, and she's one of my favorite players, period. She definitely had a downer in the last game. I had told everybody that I liked her more than I liked Fowles, and Fowles ended up having a better game. Even though I did have her in some lineups, I did have Sylvia Fowles in a couple of lineups because I made more than 1 lineup. But she gave me a 31 spot in that game. Definitely still good. 28 minutes in a blowout situation. Played minimal minutes. Put up 1 fantasy point per minute, or more than 1 fantasy point per minute. And then she's had monster games. I mean, she has had 8 out of her last 10 games. You can look here really quickly. She has had 40-plus games. So, I mean, she's good for it. And not only that, against this team, she put up a 57 and a 43 spot in the 2 games that she played. So she definitely has dominated them. Latoya Sanders in play, 6,100. Her price is a little up. You need 30 from her, and she doesn't hit 30 on a regular basis, but she has had some 30 moments. Here's 36 here, 35 here, and this 35 happened to be against Chicago. So, I mean, last game against Chicago, she put 30 minutes up, 6, 11, 3, and 3, 35. She's a shot blocker. She's one that, she defends, and this is what makes her so good. So, on top of that, she's capable of scoring. So, Latoya Sanders, Didn't have a great game here in the blowout situation. Only played 16 minutes, got 11 fantasy points. But she's been pretty good. Previous 3 games, 23 plus. So I mean, she's in a good spot, man. I really believe she's in a good spot. We'll look at her a little bit closer here. Sanders. Yeah, they're facing the 11th fantasy point defending team in the league in Chicago. I have Chicago also 11th defending against forwards. So she's in a favorable spot here. Latoya Sanders and Deladonna definitely in play. Over here on the bottom half of Chicago, I kind of like Cheyenne Parker more than Dolson, but Dolson at 5,500, both of them, especially Dolson, is definitely cheap. I mean, she's at like a 35 plus. She has like a 35 ceiling. I think she could definitely get you 35. She's here. She got 30, 32, and 37 in 3 games here prior, but she's been really down the last couple of games, 14, 1.2, and 17 and 16. She may have a bounce back game here because Washington, as we know, they are in my list, they're 8th. And let's take a quick look here. Washington is, 8th. They're also 8th here in fantasy points given up to forwards and centers. I have them in total points given up. I have them 8th, giving up 48, pretty much 49 points per game to forwards and centers. So definitely Cheyenne Parker and Dolson are in play here. Kind of like Miss Cheyenne Parker a little bit more. And that's basically it. That's all I like here in this game, guys. Go to Indiana versus Atlanta. We have implied totals of 156.5 with Atlanta favored at home by 8.5. Okay, and I can see that happening. Atlanta is playing a lot better now than they were playing previously. When we go on to this game, we have Atlanta, they're 11th. And now one thing's for sure, both of these teams do not high-scoring teams. Atlanta's 11th in the league in scoring at 77.3 points per game. They're second in pace, though. They really, really want to move it up and down the court really quickly. So I expect them to try to make this a very, very high-paced game, and that's where they will have the advantage. They are last in field goal percentage at 40.5%. They are last in three-point shooting at 30%. They're 6th in rebounding. That's where they get a little bit better. They're at 35.3 rebounds per game. 10th in assists at 17.3. Steals and blocking, they're very up there on the top because that's what they do best. And I'm going to share with you why and whom are the reasons why that Atlanta is that good up front. Second in steals at 7.7, nearly 8 steals a game. They're first in blocks at 5.2 blocks per game. Percentage points from 2, they're 6th in the league at 59% from 2. Points per game given up to guards, they're 4th. They're fairly respectable there defensively against guards, giving up only 30.1 points per game. Points per game given up to forwards and centers, they're 7th. They moved up from 10th to 7th and over the course of the last 2 games to 48.3 from 52. So they definitely have improved a lot there. So they're going to be vulnerable, a little bit more competitive up front in this matchup. When we go over to to Indiana, Indiana's last in points scoring in the league at 75.4 points per game. They're 10th in pace, near the bottom at 79.2. 11th in field goal percentage at 40.8%, which is pretty much 41%. They're 10th in three-point shooting at 31.8%. They're 9th in rebounding at 32.6. Last in assists, 15.2. Last in steals at 6 steals a game, and they're 10th near the bottom in blocks, which automatically that just points you all the way into Atlanta's front court and the players that defend and block and steal. So you could target those players. Points per percentage points from 2-point range, they're 4th, so they're very respectable there. Get a lot of 2-point field goals, 59.9%, pretty much even with Atlanta in that category. Points per game given up to guards, they're last, giving up 40 points per game, and they are 5th in points per game given up to forwards and centers at 46.3. Some other things to remember here: Atlanta is 4-1 over the last 5 games at home, averaging 78.2 points per game, and their opponents are pulling in 75.8 points per game, so that's a positive 3 points at home. They are favored by 8.5 today. On the other side of the court, we have Indiana. They are 1-4 in the last 5 games on the road. 68.2 points per game they're averaging, but they're giving a whopping 79.2 points per game to the opponents in their home court, and that's a disadvantage for them at -11. So I guess that's where they get that 8.5 Vegas line. We go over to the actual game itself, to the guards. Real quickly, I mean, I'm not, Tiffany Hayes definitely in play. 7,000. You need 35 from her. She's solid, man. She is just solid. Now that she's back and she's getting back in the groove here. She had 32 minutes in the last game against Washington. Indiana, she played 18 minutes here and put 27.7 fantasy points in this game here. They have played each other 3 times this year already, these teams, with Atlanta winning 2 out of the 3. And in this game here was a blowout situation. She scored 27 in 18 minutes. And not only that, this was the game that she was just gotten back, as you can see, from being off a couple games, and she was just minimal minutes. I think they were basically giving her a little bit of time, but I think she also here it was just a matter of the game was getting a little out of hand. They took her out. But 19-6-1 and 1 steal, that is fantastic play in the last 4 games, 24, 32, 27, and 30. 35 is what you need for 5X. It's a little steep, but she can get you there. She has 40-point upside, so I definitely like Tiffany Hayes here. Not only that, she's in a matchup where Indiana is dead last. Like I told you before, they are last in points per game, giving up to guards to 40 a game, so Tiffany Hayes should have a nice game here. Other than that, Alex Bentley could be a possible play. I think at 5,400, a little pricey, but we'll take a quick look at her. 5,400. You need 21, 22. You need about 27, about 27 for her. And she hasn't hit quite 27, but she's had 20 plus in 2 out of the last 3 games, or 3 out of the last 5 games. Obviously, the last game was against with Washington was her first game with Atlanta. Brittney Sykes, not in play. I'm not interested in anybody else here. I may be interested. I think Renee Montgomery is not a bad play. So if you want to consider Renee, I think you can. 4,500. She put up a 40 spot against Washington. First time around, the games against Atlanta, Indiana, she put 24 here, 19 spot here in 31 minutes, 24 spot here, and a 32-minute game here, 24 spots. So she's averaging maybe about 20 points against this team. Pretty much in 3 games on 19 points. So she's capable. And that's pretty much her average. She needs 22, 23 here. I think she can get you there, man. I really think that she is in play here for me. Renee Montgomery against a weak Indiana backcourt that doesn't defend guards that well. When it comes to Indiana, the only one I'm interested in is obviously the value play here. Miz Pondexter is 3,600. You need pretty much 15, 16 from her. And she's been playing some minutes, 23, 26, and 20 over the last 3 games. 2 out of the last 3 games, she's had 21 plus. And, so you can get 20, 25 from her. If you could get these amount of minutes again today, she might not be a bad play. She's obviously going to be able to crush that 15, 16 spot value that you need. So I think she's the best value play there. When it comes over to the forwards, man, this is when it gets really, really nice. You got Angel McCoughtry, Breland, Dupree, Natalie, and Elizabeth. And I'd be honest with you, I only like 2 girls here in this whole matchup. I think that Angel McCoughtry is a good play at 7,800, but I'd rather come down and play either Breland, and I'm even going to go even lower than that. I'm not on Jessica Breland, just simply because Candice Dupree and Natalie Achanwa definitely play these front court teams very, very well. Let's just take, I could just show you, as a matter of fact, let's just go here. Okay, I don't have McCoughtry here on my main lineup, on my main looks, but over here, see that first in the league in defending forwards and centers. I have Indiana 5th at 46.3 points per game they give up, which is pretty respectable. But as you can see, when they played Indiana, 22, 29, got nearly close to a 30 spot here, and on a 31 here. So the best game was the first game, and then the losing effort here in a blowout, she played 26 minutes, 7 of 13. I don't know. I think it's just a tough matchup. Me personally, I think Angel McCoughtry is a tough matchup. I think the best play here is Candice Dupree, 6,400 for Indiana. I definitely have an interest in her today. You need about 31, 32 pretty much to cover here. She's had a 39 spot 4 games ago, but what I like most is that she's had great success against Atlanta already. As you can see here, last game against Atlanta, 33 minutes, 39 spot, pretty much a 40, more than 1 fantasy point per minute, had a solid game. Then in the second game of the season, 22 minutes, 15 fantasy points. And then game 1, she played 35 minutes, nearly the same as her last game, 17-9, 2-1-1. Had a fantastic all-around game. Fill up the stat sheet. She put 34.8, pretty much 35 fantasy points. So 2 games out of the 3 pretty much dominated at 1 fantasy point per minute or better. So I definitely like Candice Dupree in the matchup today. McCautry and Jessica Breland gonna have to deal with both of these girls, and then that's where to me, I lean towards Elizabeth Williams because she's just a great shot blocker, good defender. 5,800. You basically need from her about 28. You need about 28 from her. She has a 24 and a 34 spot in the last 2 games. The minutes are good, 22 to as much as 31 minutes. If she gets to 25 minutes or better, she has a good shot to be able to hit this value. And not only that, she's had a decent couple of games. Indiana here, she only played 11 minutes in this blowout situation, only at 5.7 fantasy points. But she played 25 spot here, got more than 1 fantasy point per minute. In this game, she had 4 blocks in that game. And this one here, she only had 1. She's going to need to defend. If she can do that, I think she could be a very sneaky play at 5,800 in this matchup here. And basically, that is it. That's all I'm looking at here. Game 3. Game 3, we have Phoenix at Connecticut. I don't have no implied totals for this game at all. First things first, Phoenix is coming in 14-7. I think I didn't tell you guys the standings. And Connecticut 10-10 coming into this matchup. They both have played each other twice, with Phoenix winning both games. Okay. Connecticut is currently now 3rd in the league in scoring at 86 points per game. They are 5th in field goal percentage at 44.8%, pretty much 45%. They are 8th in three-point shooting at 34%. 1st in rebounding, 37 rebounds per game. They're 8th in assists at 18.9. Okay. They're very, very low in steals and blocks, so I didn't even bother with that. They're 80. Their pace. They are 3rd in. Their pace is 81.4 points. Percentage points from 2. They are 59%. Points per game given up to guards. They are 2nd at 28.3. Points per game given up to forwards and centers. They're dead last still at 53.2. But I think that as the time goes along now with Alyssa Thomas back, that will improve for Connecticut. When we come over to the other side of the ball, we have Phoenix. They're 6th in the league in scoring at 82.7 points per game. They're 3rd in field goal percentage at 45%. They are 6th in pace at 80.2. Their 3-point shooting is 4th. They're 4th in the league in 3-point shooting at 35.7%. They're 11th in rebounding at 31.7. They're 2nd in assists at 20.4. 2nd in blocks at 5.1. Those are 2 important categories, especially for fantasy points. Percentage points from 2 from the floor, they are 50.6%. That's considered last among the league, among the teams in the league. Points per game given up to guards, they're 6th at 32.3 points per game, and points per game given up to forwards and centers, they're 6th there at 47 a game. All right. Notable things to remember here: Connecticut is 3-2 over the last 5 games at home, averaging 88.6 points per game, and their opponents are pulling in 83 on the nose points per game. That's a positive 5 points better for Connecticut. On the flip side, Phoenix is 3-2 on the road over the last 5 games, scoring on average of 80.8 points per game and giving up 79.4 points per game to the home team. So that's a positive 1. So they definitely play well on the road, and they stay close, and they usually pull out games against teams at home. They have played each other, like I said before, twice already. Phoenix won both games. First game 84-77, second game 89-70. Well, first game was 89-72, second game 84-77. Both games were at home. This game is in Connecticut. And we're going to go over the Diana Taurasi illness. I don't know what illness she has. I don't know if she's going to play today. I mean, we all know with WNBA, we don't get a lot of news at all. I try to go on there to the team sites an hour or 2 before game time, sometimes a half hour. I don't see nothing at all. So, and nothing that I go and I deal with, and I check a lot of websites that I get my information from, and trust me, I don't see anything either. So I don't know what's going to happen here. But if she plays, she's definitely in play. She's 8K, you need 40, and she's been at 45 in the 2 games that she played against Connecticut. She put a 45 spot and a 29 spot in those 2 games. Okay, granted, again, Connecticut were, I mean, she left after 4 here. Granted, those games against Connecticut, there was no Alyssa Thomas. So that definitely would better Connecticut going into this game as far as defensively. But if she is playing, she's definitely someone to consider. 40, she could definitely get you there. Dewanna Bonner is 7,500. You need about 37 from her. She's had 4 out of her last 6 games. She has hit 30 plus, so she's not quite, but she's getting she's kind of averaging 30, and she's been around that 30 spot. So very, very close to value. Not quite kind of probably get you 5x, but I mean, she is capable of, as you can see here against Connecticut, the last time, just 3 games ago, 36 minutes, 12, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 34.6 fantasy points. Now, another thing about Dewanna Bonner is, remember, she's a guard forward, but for Phoenix, she's another one that's listed here on FanDuel as a guard, and she is pretty much majority of the time playing forward. She usually starts at the 3. So, I mean, so something to remember here. Remember that Taurasi is the backcourt with usually January, okay, and Dewanna Bonner plays the 3. But they have her here in FanDuel as a guard all year long. So she's another one that's like the 4th or 5th girl that I've mentioned to you guys that over the course, like I mentioned also with Chicago, with Gabby Williams and Diamond Deshields, they start up front. That's the 3-4 spot for the Sky. And they are always here on FanDuel as guards. So same thing with Bonner. She is basically a forward. So basically when you choose her, you basically are playing with 5 forwards, you know, on your lineup instead of 4. Okay, so Dewanna Bonner is in play. 4 out of the last 6 games plus 30. She has a 34 spot. Sorry about that. 34 spot and a 30 spot. Okay, 34 spot and a 30 spot. 34 here in the last game. And the game before that, 31 minutes, 30 spots. So she's averaging 1 fantasy point per minute. And she's a solid fantasy point per minute player. She's like usually, as well as Taurasi, somewhere in the .91, 92 and up. So she nearly every single game gives you close to pretty much 1 fantasy point per minute. So she's pretty solid if you're looking at her in that aspect. Courtney Williams is definitely someone I'm considering for Connecticut. I like Courtney Williams. I mean, she's just a physical girl, plays hard. 27 minutes on her return, 25 fantasy points, 16-3-5. Very nice. Didn't do any blocks and steals. Would like to see a little bit better of that. But she put up a solid 25 fantasy points in 27 minutes. And she's capable of it. I mean, she is. We have here the last 3 games: 1, 2, 3, 22 or better with a 32 spot in between that, and that was against Indiana. All right, which is a weaker team. We can understand. This was against New York. This 22 was against Indiana. But she's capable of getting you 25 plus. Okay, she's definitely, and she's got 40-point upside, as you can see here. So Courtney Williams for me is in play in this matchup with Phoenix, especially if Diana Taurasi's out. Okay, especially Diana Taurasi's out, because then you're looking at the backcourt of being January and possibly Yvonne Turner. All right, we move down here. Yvonne Turner will be the next one in play here. I'm not on Jasmine Thomas today. Turner, 4,400. You need about 22. She's averaging 9.9, but we know that's all based on the entire season. Obviously, in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, she's getting a little bit more time on the floor. If Taurasi is out, you could expect her to get 20 plus minutes today, and that can lead to anywhere near 17 to as much as 25 fantasy points, I would think. She has 40-point upside, as she did here in 24 minutes. Had an outstanding game against Washington. So yeah, anything is possible with Yvonne Turner. Still a little high in price, but I think that in this matchup, especially if Taurasi's out and her getting the minutes, she's not a bad play. Other than that, I'm not on anybody else here. Nobody else. We go right over to the forwards. This is I like this matchup here, especially for the Connecticut girls, because, like I said before, Alyssa Thomas has not played in the 2 games that they have played against, and then Shanae Ogumake did not play in game 1. Okay, I don't think she didn't play in game 1. She was injured or something, or she was not feeling well. She did not play. So Brittney Griner had her chance to light it up, and she didn't do quite that. Is Brittney Griner in play? Yeah, if you want to pay 8,500, you can. I think there's better plays here. The matchup is not for Brittney Griner today. I could be wrong. But I love the matchup for Shanae Ogumake, so she's the first one I'm looking at here. Shanae Ogumake, 7,400. You need 37. She has had pretty much 36 plus in 1, 2, 3 out of the last 4 games. And then, like I said before, she did not play. She played minimal. Let me see here. Phoenix. She played 22 minutes in this game here against Phoenix. And only put up 17 fantasy points. That's going to be a better game. This was a game Phoenix definitely took. Connecticut did not play well at all in this game. Phoenix had a big lead. They didn't need her to be on the court you know. So she was out. She was out in 22 minutes. I would believe that's what really happened there. And then over here, the first time around, like I said, she did not play. As you can see, that's the only game that she missed against Phoenix. So I expect her to have a very, very good game. She's facing a team that is capable. They're in the middle of the pack as far as defending. Let me go here to my pool. And as you can see here, Shanae Agumake, they're facing the third, and I have them as sixth on my list as far as defending against forwards and centers, giving up what we have there. They're giving up 30. Connecticut, Phoenix is giving up 47 points. Sorry, 47 points. So I like Shanae. I really do. I like Shanae Agumake. I think she's in fine play here. Other than that, Alyssa Thomas is definitely in play. 7,300 right now. She's considered cheap at 7,300. She came back first game and just went up there. I thought she was going to come back. They were probably going to put her only for like 20, 25 minutes. They gave her a whopping 37 minutes. She looked fantastic. 12 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. We'll love to see her do a little bit more dirty work, like get those blocks. But, I mean, she has a lot of potential going into today after that nice performance against New York. And that was against a team that was weak up front. And I tell you the truth, man, she should definitely do work here again today. Her and Shanae should have. If it's not her who's going to have the awesome game, it'll be both of them or one of them. But I'm sure their matchup is just greater for Connecticut today. This and being Connecticut being last in points per game given up to forwards and centers, that's going to change over the next few weeks because Alyssa Thomas is back. So it's not going to be that easy of a cakewalk for these teams to come in there and beat up on Connecticut's front court. Jonquil Jones, I'm not on. So Alyssa Thomas is in play, guys, hands down. I like Shanae, and I definitely love Alyssa Thomas here today against Phoenix. I think they're in a great matchup. Jonquil Jones, I'm not on. And the only other person that I'll be considering here is Camille Little as a Valley play, 3,700. She's had 2 straight games at 19 plus. So, I mean, I think she's a good 21 and 19, 21 and 27 minutes. And again, she's going to need to play. And she's going to need to play hard today because you got to deal with Jonquil Jones, you got to deal with Alyssa, and you got to deal with Shanae. Somebody's got to step up, and I don't think it's going to be Morgan Tuck. Morgan Tuck. I don't think it's going to be. If you're not on Camille, then you got to be on Angela Robinson. It's one or the other. So those are the Valley plays there: Camille and Angela, Angel Robinson. All right. So Angel Robinson, 3,200, pretty much 14. She's got 14 and 20 here. She's capable of getting it done. She's going to have to play. Somebody's going to have to give Brittney Griner some help. Okay. Other than Dewanna Bonner, who plays the 3. All right, so that's pretty much it there in this game. Let's go on. Las Vegas, Minnesota. Last game, implied totals is the second highest for the night, 163.5, with with Minnesota favored at home by 10. Now, I tell you something right now. Las Vegas, I've been saying this, I think I said it a few times already. Las Vegas is a nice, fine, good team. They're starting to come around. They're starting to play as a team. This team started off, I think, at one point they were like 1-7, 1-8. They're like 9-12. They're actually, they're 9-12 right now. They're making a run for the playoffs. I think they have a shot. So this is a big, big game for them. They already have played each other one time before. All right. So going into the game, Minnesota's 12-8, and Las Vegas is 9-12. Minnesota is 8th in the league in scoring at 79.5 points per game. They're tops in pay. They are 6th in pace at 79.5, 6th in field goal percentage 44.7, nearly 45%. They are 5th in 3-point shooting at 35.6, 3rd in rebounding at 36.4, 5th in assists at 19.9, 11th in blocks. They're pretty much not good there at all, 2.8. Points per percentage points from 2-point range, they're 3rd in the league at 61.3%. They shoot a lot of 2-point shots. Points per game given up to guards, they're 8th at 32.6 points per game, and points per game given up to forwards, they're 1st at 40. All right, we go over to the other side of the ball. We got Las Vegas. They're 5th in points at 82.8 points per game. They are 1st in pace at 83.1. They really like to run up and down the floor. They are 8th in field goal percentage at 43.6%, 2nd in 3-point shooting at 36.6% from 3. They are 4th in rebounding at 36.3. They're 3rd in assists at 20.3, 5th in blocks at 4.1. Points per percentage points from 2-point range, 64.4%. That is tops in the league. They're 11th in points per game given up to guards. which is a little down, a little low. 35 points per game to give up to guards. Points per game given up to forwards, they're ninth at 51.2. They have improved from being nearly last. They have now in ninth. All right. We go over to the ball game here. Players, man. Kayla Mcbride, you know how much I like Kayla Mcbride and A'ja Wilson. Obviously, the two girls are in play. Kayla Mcbride, 7,200. You need pretty much 36 from her. She hasn't, she's hit 36 a few times. Two out of the last three over 40 plus. As you can see, she has 40-point upside. So we definitely like that. Her price is a little high, but she's been playing well. She's going to be an all-star. I love her here. I think she's in a great spot. She's playing against Minnesota. Minnesota's weak point is going to be their guards. As we all know, they're stronger up front. As we already discussed, Minnesota is ninth in my list as far as defending against guards. Eighth, at 32.7 points per game. So, I like Kayla Mcbride here, These guys have played each other one time only, and Minnesota won that game 88-73. So, yeah, we expect Vegas trying to get a little payback here. That game was in Vegas. I think Vegas is going to come in here. I think this game is going to be a little bit closer. At least that's my feeling. I think Kayla Mcbride, A'ja, these girls are going to come in here, especially the backcourt. Tamara, KP, Kelsey, Plum, they all need to step it up. I think this is the game they're going to do it. So Kayla Mcbride for me is in play, 7,200. If you want to save some money and not pay Kayla Mcbride, I am not at all opposed to having Tamara Young on the team. Putting her in the lineup, 5,600. You need 26 from her. She's averaging 22.5. And 3 out of her last 4 games have been 32 plus. 1, 2, 3. The minutes are there. Let's look at her a little closely over here. Miss Young. Tamara Young, they're facing the 8th seeded. Look at the green. 3 out of the last 4. Look at the usage rate. Over 21% in all 4 of the games. The minutes are there. Anywhere between 23 minutes to as high as 32 minutes. She's getting enough shots. Okay, the rebounding is there. The assists are there. She's defending a little bit. She had a couple of games here where she had 4 and 2 steals. I like her. She reminds me, she's just a tough girl, man. She reminds her and Courtney Williams are kind of like similar, but I think she's a little tougher. Tamara Young, 5,600. I like her here. I think she's in play for sure against a weak Minnesota backcourt. KP is in play, but for $300 more, I'd rather take Tamara, and I wouldn't even mind stacking Mcbride and Young in the backcourt in the game here if I was going to do a game stack here in this game, because something tells me this game is going to be a little closer than the last game, than the last time they played. I'm not on any of Minnesota's guards other than possibly, Danielle Robinson. Maybe the only one, simply because her price is not too bad. 3,900, you need 19. And she's been putting 19 plus in the last 2 games, 24 spot here against Indiana. Again, granted, that was Indiana and then Chicago here. They're 2 of the weaker teams. But I still think, somebody's need to step up on the backcourt. And if it's not going to be Augustus, it's going to be Robinson. I'd rather play Robinson for $600 more so that I can use that money to pay up for a forward or even a stud guard like a Kayla Mcbride or something like that, or a Van Der Sloot. Okay. In today's slate. So definitely Danielle Robinson is in play for me. Other than that, that is basically it. We go over to the forwards. Fowles, Wilson, Moore, definitely in play. Those are the 3 girls everybody should be looking at. Sylvia Fowles, 8,400. You need 42. She's averaging 39.4, pretty much almost 40. She got 41 here, 48 here. So 2 out of the last 3 over 40 points. She has 55-point upside, as we all know. Versus Vegas, let's look here. 26 minutes, 45 fantasy points. And that's in the, that's massive. 20 points, 10 rebounds in a blowout situation. Okay, because they won by 15. So we know that because A'ja Wilson's minutes were lower. They were just as, let's put it this way. A'ja Wilson's minutes, I think, are pretty much the same. 25, 26 she played. But she put up massive minutes for 26 minutes. More than almost double fantasy points per minute by Sylvia Fowles. So definitely she is in play. A'ja Wilson, 8,200. She's in play as well, guys. 8,200. You need 40, 41 from her. She's been a little bit down, but she has 55-point upside. 54 and 58 here in the last. She's had 4 games over the last 6 at 50 points to as much as 64 points. That is massive. Now, granted, she only played 26 minutes against Minnesota. She struggled a little bit, but not only wasn't the struggle, it was that they were just so out of reach that the game never got close enough that they decided to not play her any more than she needed to. So she played sporadically, mostly more the minutes in the first half than the second half, and they minimized her, and they did the right thing. So I expect a better effort today by Las Vegas. They're playing a lot better as of late as well since that last matchup. So for me, I like A'ja Wilson here today. Maya Moore, definitely always in play. She's steady. All right, 7,900, and he brought 39 from her. And she's averaging pretty much 33, and she got almost a 40 spot in the last game. She had a couple of dud games here, 3 in a row, but as you can see, she's capable of getting you 40 plus. Pretty steady. She gets the minutes anywhere between 27 to as much as 30, 33 minutes. I mean, the last game against Vegas, bam, 34 minutes, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 steal, 37.7 fantasy points, more than 1 fantasy point per minute. So she was lights out, man. She was lights out. The matchup is there. Vegas is one of the weaker teams up front. As I said before, Vegas, I have them 9th in defending forwards and centers, giving up 51.2 fantasy points. Now, granted, they have gotten better. They were once like 52 or 53 points per game, so they have improved. But still, I say this is definitely. So when you look at this game, we're definitely attacking Vegas up front with Fowles and Moore. They don't have Rebecca Brunson. All right, so without no Rebecca Brunson, I don't see myself thinking about Fagbini or anyone else like that here as a value play. 3,200. She may get 20. Let's see how many minutes she got when she came in and played the other day. Maybe 15 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes on the nose. She got more than 1 fantasy point per minute. It's still, to me, I don't know, man. I'm just not on that. I think here today, go and get some of these big stud forwards up front, and there are a couple of decent 4 and 5K guards here in this slate today. I think you should definitely focus on those girls. And that's pretty much it, man. Those are the girls I like. I mean, that's the bottom line. So again, man, drop a like on the video if you like the video. Please subscribe down below if you want to continue to get all this, information, the insight, any advice. You can hit me up with a comment. I'll do the best I can to give you an answer as quickly as possible. And that's basically it, man. Good luck tonight putting out your lineups. God bless, and your boy Manny is out.